I'm gonna record this. Everybody that misses it. Again, always good to see some familiar faces and some newer faces to the conversation. We like to, if this is your first time to one of our Let's Talk About sessions, at least once a month, maybe even more, especially as the summer comes up, if people are available. I like to just get together with the community and talk about stuff. Things that are kind of in the current events in the news, things that maybe you're having conversations about. Talk about, what are some of the ideas, some of the facts, what are some of the thoughts, and then get a better understanding. Because I believe if we can understand the topics better, even from whatever perspective we come from, we can do better in the world as we talk about to eliminate the ignorance around these topics, right? So how do we have better conversations about it? So I like to always try to grab something that's a little bit, in the news, if you will, but also something that's kind of makes me curious. These are really conversations for me, not just to come with all the answers. I really don't have all the answers for a lot of this stuff. It's just to be able to spark conversations, maybe ask some better questions that get it moving in a certain way. So again, welcome to everybody as everybody's checking in. I will ask for this. If anybody has a win just from since the last time I've seen you, or since you ran through a came through a long talk, I mean, a win is small or large, is practicing the CPR with a child or doing something on a larger scale. We've had some incredible things that have been coming in from the community. So I want to just open up and give some space to anybody that just want to share a win personally for themselves in terms of where they are on this journey, or a win something that's going on in your community, anything that's positive. I know it's usually a lot of negativity that gets thrown around, but I just want to open up the floor to any wins. So anyone want to come off mute, please feel free to share. I'll give you some space.
I just want to share one little thing. I saw a LinkedIn article, and it was about immigration and about, all the vermin have to stay in prison and blah, 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 stay in detention centers. So I took your advice from a prior one about, I never do social media, but I just responded and told a story about a local woman who actually gives food away at her restaurant to people who don't have jobs or who are disabled or whatever. And she too was arrested by ICE. So I just kind of challenged this person to say, is this the vermin that you're talking about? So anyway, so
I appreciate that. I appreciate again one using if anyone was what Marion was referring to is I often tell people when you're practicing a CPR protocol, do it on social media. You can do it as yourself. You can make up an account just for asking questions. And when people say things, instead of just being offended and shocked, let's challenge them a little bit with some critical thinking. Like, what do you think about this person? Do you mean all people? Like those are challenges that just get the thought to be able to be a little bit more challenged up front. Thank you for that, Marianne, and congratulations on stepping up. Renee, what do you have?
I wrote letters to people that I thought were Trump supporters because I had seen signs in their yards and things like that, and was very compassionate because I think there's just too much hatred out there. I know you're a good American, you want what's right, but did you know this is some of the stuff that's going on? You might not have heard it because of the media filter that everybody lives in a media bubble. And shortly after I sent one of the letters, a Trump sign came down, and I decided to take that as a win because we need any good news that we can get.
Facts. And here's what I want to say, and I'm glad that's an awesome. First of all, your action. Where'd you get that from? Did anybody tell you to do that? Did you see that somewhere to say, should I write these letters? What made you decide to write some letters to your neighbors?
I just decided to write letters. I didn't see it anywhere. I just decided sometimes you cannot have conversations with these people. And sometimes the conversations devolve. Not that I'm having, but like in the general sense, we see so much hatred. You're the cause of this. You're Nazis. Well, as
Yeah,
soon as you do that, they're completely defensive.
absolutely.
No, I'm a good patriotic American. And then in addition to that, they feel justified in saying you're the evil people because you're attacking me.
Yeah.
And so it was just sort of compassionate, like, I know that you voted for a better economy. That's what you wanted. But did you know this?
Yeah. The idea is very similar in that it's awareness, it's information plus empathy equals action. And being able to approach people with information. And again, it's not for everybody. I do want y'all to recognize there's a certain percentage of our population that has always been wedded to this, that knows exactly what it is, knows exactly what it feels like, and what it's supposed to make everybody else feel like. And when this feeling comes through again, that they're committed to that. So I just want to make sure also it's great. And I love that you just kind of flood the zone and see what happens and one here because a lot of times we get caught up in wanting to make sure we try to change Uncle Bob. Uncle, if I can just get Uncle Bob. But Aunt Sue and all the rest of the cousins are just in neutral. When we can just actually get them going easier because they're not so far removed from the truth that when they see it a little bit more deeply by watching an 80-minute video, when they're questioned and challenged by the CPR protocol, it just forces those middle people to say, yeah, what was I thinking? And how could I? And those are the ones that to move. So I love it. I love it. But it starts with action. All right, because and it cycles to action. Your action gave them some information. You put empathy with that, and you saw an action, a sign come down, whatever. And sometimes that's the greatest testimony, because that's the person that's in the group chat that says, "Yo, I think I messed up." So that's a whole different trigger approach. But that's awesome, awesome. What any other wins for this is good. Any other wins? Anybody want to share anything else with that before I move? This is good.
I would add that the social media thing, as you know, is such a challenge for both Marianne is not into it, and it was not my thing. But Kyle, this has been a game changer, especially on LinkedIn, where everyone's required to be there, you know. So there, you're if you go to if you go to X or if you go to Truth Social or if you go to Blue Sky, these are really split into different demographics when what you need is to reach people, you know, and LinkedIn is great for that. So appreciate it making us take the dive. It's been super duper helpful, and you know, just to share information to help people think, oh, hey, maybe I might have been wrong, you know.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of people that have been pulled into that direction, and you're right. If we can, there are still people. Again, if you meet people with information and it's not even coming from you, that's why I love use a link. Hey, did you know this? I just saw this. Have you seen that? I didn't see this on the news I was even watching, but I saw this article somewhere on the Atlantic, whatever. Boom, or send it to them. I like to go to a lot of neutral stuff, rooters, router, whatever's from rooters. Like there's a bunch of things that are. I mean, people will still argue whatever they want to argue, but essentially they come from those places. I like to watch. I like to bring international news articles to people. I like to see how other people see us from across the world. Then it's like who you blaming, you're not blaming CNN, whatever. So I think the idea actually of being able to just say, hey, yo, like, do you, because I just want to check in and see if you know. Because if you know and you're going willingly on the ship, I just want to know who my neighbor is. So that's pretty much where we're at, right? Let me just see what's going on. So, all right, this is good. This is good. All right, I'm going to jump into this. Thank you. And thank you for sharing and continue to share. You know, we have a spot in the universe where you can post your wins if you have anything. It's always good. It inspires other people. It really does. If people do come up to me and talk about people that have posted things that you know did something for them. So keep posting, keep talking about it. Okay. Um, I always like to start all these Let's Talk Abouts with your reaction to the flyer, the title, the topic. What made you decide to come out? So I'll just put it up here again for anybody. And I just want to know, like, for whatever made you choose to be here today at this time. What about this topic? I guess piqued your interest, or what's something that made you want to join? I'll just open up the floor. Anybody just have a share about what this topic means to you.
I'll I'll say something.
Hmm.
Um, just I'm a Catholic, and I was following the conclave and the whole process very closely, and found it. There's a lot to be encouraged about, I think, in this man, in Pope Leo. It was incredibly surprising. It was shocking, um, but just his international connections. Make it not such an American, yay us thing. And also just the fact that he has Creole roots. And so there are persons of color in his family. Um, and I have hope. I think maybe he's somebody might be in a position to actually speak to the leaders in our country. They can't say that he doesn't understand American sentiment because he lived here for a long time. So I just was really curious, I guess, to see this particular slant because I've seen critical, people complaining that this is the woke pope, and I just was really interested to hear the positive slant that, like, yeah, maybe this pope is woke, and what he's going to bring, and just what you all have to say about it. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Appreciate it, Ellen. Any other thoughts about the title? Anything popped out for anybody?
Well, I'm in Texas and there's so much Christian nationalism. It's overwhelming and nauseating. And I'm not Catholic, but I'm very curious about this Pope and finding new language to engage people who are entrapped by Christian nationalism, finding new language to kind of free them or engage with them.
Yeah.
So thank you
Always.
for doing this.
Indeed. No, always. And thank you for joining from, it's interesting. There are places that we work often in and we interact often in. Obviously, Texas is not one of the ones that is very welcoming to the work that I do.
Mhm.
Don't go to Florida that much except for conventions in Orlando. We're able to see somehow on the convention circuit, we're able to show up and talk in Orlando in Florida, but other stuff we have a problem with. But I appreciate you for checking in from, I say, behind enemy lines in a sense, because I think sometimes it's easy for
Yeah,
people to, we get a little comfortable. Even I'm in Southeast DC. Like
yeah,
I'm not, it's not at my front door. I don't have to deal with it as much. That's not I got other issues with my politicians. That's not my politician's problem. Right. So,
yeah.
but I appreciate you checking in because, and I hopefully this will be helpful for you. But I think as always, just being able to talk about it, right? And being able to have it, getting work through it, it becomes less of a word salad in our head. It becomes less of an emotional bag to carry, and then we just have a combo. So no, thank you for checking in for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Yes,
Appreciate
sir. And I have to actually give credit to my professor almost 30 years ago at University of Pennsylvania, Elijah Anderson, when I was graduating and I said, Eli, I don't want to go back to Texas. It's too much. And he said, you need to go back. You need to go back to where people will see you and they'll hear you because they won't hear me as a Black man,
it.
but they'll hear you. You need to go back and be able to engage. And that challenge really humbled me, to stay, like how you said, behind enemy lines,
Yeah.
to stay in the trenches and just try to do the work. Um,
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. One of my mentors, this is even in high school, not even speaking directly to this, but he said, you don't have to travel for the work, you just do the work where you are.
mhm,
And that's something for me has always been about, I looked around and wherever I was and say, what can I do right here, right now to make the biggest impact? So thank you for that, for sure.
mhm, mhm.
Um, all right, this is great. Let me just jump into what this is about for me. Well, let me ask this: other Catholics on the call? I'm just okay. Dang, that was important for me because I'm not the expert. I got a couple questions for y'all. So I see Marianne, Erga, Renee, Ellen, and Janet. Okay, and again, not no test. I'm just not going to speak. That's not my expertise at all, right? And so, but I wanted to have this conversation because I always see things through history, through the course of history, right? And so for me, you know, I've always as a I don't want to. Let me see, where am I going to start? All right, the reason why this is important to me and why I leaned into this conversation, not being Catholic, clearly not being a white Christian nationalist, but the idea for me was about through history. You see, religion has always been deeply embedded in everything that I talk about, everything, without even having to mention it, because that is what has also cast the spread across the world of white supremacy. It came cloaked in religion. It's been always been cloaked in religion, whether it's the Catholic religion, the Christian religion. For me, as a black person looking at this whole thing, right? So for me, I understand how popes have moved in times of world war. Their global power, not even with Christians, literally with wars and people coming together and the Pope shifting now, I don't know if the Pope has that power anymore. It's going to be interesting because we're in a time of global turmoil right now. And in many ways, there was a decision that had to be made or that was made that at least felt like some way of a win in the right direction where things have been going in the opposite direction a lot of times in front of us, right? So there was this hope, right? And so what always defines progress for me is the pushback. See, if you think you've done something and there was no pushback, you didn't do anything. That's just you thinking. Sure, when you are doing something and people come to destroy it and push back the status quo, that's when you know I'm on the path that's the resistance, that's the struggle, that's where we're going. So when you look at the response to this by the people that I was who are looking at it, I was like, okay, MAGA has a problem with the new pope. What I love about the government that we serve under, that we're under now, is that they say it with their chest. Like I love the fact that if people choose not to believe them, that's on y'all. But they say everything out loud, up front, with audacity. This is true fashion. They like we're gonna do it all. I live in Washington D.C. and I just want you to know they are putting up pictures of President Donald Trump on the museums.
No, seriously? Man, that's
Here's what I
scary.
need. This is what I need y'all to really understand. Let me help y'all understand. And again, I'm not an alarmist. I've been on the front lines ringing the bell, but I just want y'all to understand what's here in America right now. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
there's everything you see is real,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing here to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us have known that, like literally. I'm gonna be honest. When Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, lost the election, I tweeted the picture of Darth Vader.
Mm.
And I said the empire was not going to let a woman follow 8 years of a black man, and the empire is about to strike back.
Mm. Mm.
And so, for me as a student of history, I've seen this for a very long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
I just want y'all to know that it's totally here, guardrails off.
Mm-hmm.
So really talk about so the win of a neighbor is a big win right now
Mm-hmm.
because we're choosing sides. And unless people have the right information or the right motivation or whatever, I just want them to be honest in their choice. Because right now, for me, around me, you got to make it. Right. So again, I'm not, and that's not alarmist, but you can look some of that stuff up. They've been putting up at first one, somebody told me that it was a AI piece, but then somebody else confirmed it. So I just saw it this morning. But I,
Mm.
I know that he's already putting himself on the board of the Kennedy Center.
Oh
So
yeah.
whether I put the picture up or not, I'm taking control of the arts
Mm-hmm.
through the nation's capital. So
Mm-hmm.
whether you again, I just want us to recognize that at least in this space for me, I said, you know what? Well, let's at least see what this Pope has to say because they had a choice. This could have imagine if it had gone in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what the world would feel like right now if the actual Pope had actually been some conservative anti-immigrant. Like, what if that person was in? Because there are some of those people in the in the conversation.
Mm.
So there was a choice in this moment, right? But we ended up with Pope Leo, Pope Francis. And I just put this up here just as one kind of piece. I just saw this on Twitter, I think yesterday, day before. But take a look at this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's saying it pretty loud and clear. And again, if you're gonna speak, you have to speak truth to power.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like you have to actually say it out loud. You can't kind of hint around. You can't sneak this, as they say in hip hop. You can't like you gotta say it right out loud. I'm talking about you. Right. And so he has said on social media his feelings about Trump and immigration and deportation, so on that kind of, at least on that piece, right? As a person that, as we said, has these roots from Creole, spent time in Peru, I believe. So you have a person that is at least has the empathy and the information about the injustices and is willing to speak out about it, right? Now, let me ask this from some of us, the captains on here, because I don't understand I don't understand the I don't know what the word is. Watch some you were talking about the conclave and people waiting and people's emotional like this is a real part of life. Like this is not some just a person. It's not even like a president. This is God's chosen vessel from my understanding. So somebody please talk a little bit about what that's like, whether you grew up like that, like what the naming of a new pope, how many popes you've been through. Just a quick little couple of minutes on just what this means from your perspective. And I know that's not, you don't speak for all Catholics, but for your perspective, much deeper than mine, please someone share some of that. I put you on the spot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Renee. Sorry.
From my perspective, Pope Francis tiptoed into making some changes. Now, changes in the Catholic Church are on a 500-year scale. I mean, the Catholic Church for how many centuries taught that the earth is the center of the universe. And we all know, there's stories of people being executed because they opposed that. we know that it is not the center of the universe, and that's not taught as doctrine anymore. But we're talking 500 years. So France has sort of tiptoed in the direction of doing something different with respect to patriarchy and doing something different with respect to economics and things like that. And there was, as you said, a miserable backlash. So I had great fear that the conclave would be a bunch of very conservative people. And the US Catholic Conference of Bishops is more conservative than the world right now. They're sort of the MAGA wing of the Catholic Church, if you will. And I had a fear that they were going to choose a pope who was just doctrinaire about LGBTQ issues or anything. Not that they've made changes, but they sort of whispered in the direction that there might be changes afoot. And one of my friends pointed out that France has appointed, I think, 80-something% of the cardinals who were going to be in the conclave. And so they did not think that there was going to be a backlash because there wouldn't be enough people. So I was very grateful that they chose someone who appears to be in the mold of Francis, where I mean, I don't think that they're going to be ordaining women as priests anytime soon, but at least like he started to tiptoe towards, hey, maybe God did create all these people of all races and genders and sexual orientations, and maybe that's not evil or a lifestyle choice or whatever other terminology they want to put out there. Maybe you don't need to be, wealthy or Christian nationalist to. So it was reassuring to me, because of the backlash that we've seen in any kind of movement that changes the status quo. There are always people who want the status quo.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Renee. Appreciate you sharing. Anyone else want space for that? Yep. Go ahead, Jessica. Is that Jessica? Yep.
Yes. Hi. Renee, I have a question for you, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but from what you just said, and I'm not Catholic and I don't fully understand it, but then it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the Pope appoints bishops that will then be appointing the next Pope. I'm just thinking like president with the Supreme Court justices, like, so then to me, that's hopeful in the sense that then we would I'm not Catholic, but the Catholics would continue to go in a progressive moment. Is my understanding of that correct?
That is correct. It's the cardinals, and it's only a subset of the cardinals who get to be in the conclave. They have rules about who gets to be in the conclave. But in the general sense, in the broader sense, the sort of bishops and the cardinals and the hierarchy of the church get their approval from the Pope on down. And just as one example, Pope Leo was on his local group that talked about the appointment of bishops, and they let women into that group for the first time. I think there were either 2 or 3 women in that particular group who was discussing who would be a bishop in a given area. Now, it's not the same thing as women having all the same rights and privileges within the church. It's obviously still an all-male hierarchy, but that tiny little movement was just catastrophically bad to the sort of the MAGA type people within the Catholicism, because how dare you, that kind of thing, that type of change. So I agree with you. I think, like I said, it's a 500-year scale, but I think that if you continue in that tradition, you can sort of tiptoe. You can see more bishops being more open to more things and more people being open to when there is some sort of doctrinal discussion that, maybe our initial interpretation was wrong, something along those lines.
Thank you for clarifying. Appreciate it.
I saw Marianne had your hand up. Did you want to say something, Marianne? Oh, you're on mute, Marianne. Oh, yeah, and please keep using the chat. It's fine.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to share. I lost my connection for a bit, so I don't know if I'm repeating something that somebody else said. That there is a large component of Catholics that are very social justice minded, and the fact that Leo chose the name Leo, it was like a signal because that Pope The prior pope was a very huge proponent of social justice and the labor movement and honoring the dignity of labor and all of that. So,
Yeah, yeah. I just learned that myself. It's I'm just been I'm a learner. So when it popped up, I said, let me learn more about it. Even before I decided to talk about it, because I didn't realize when I realized he chose the name. I'd heard that before, but again, when you're using your voice, your name matters, right? So I did look that up, and it talked about the third Leo the third. I think it was another one. So there's a bunch of them. It was a tradition, which I think also calls. Like I think that's a it's a to me it's very interesting because it is a very vocal platform. It's one of the largest platforms in the world. Is what I mean. Because let me ask this question: when as you grow up Catholic, are you taught that this is the word of God? Like there's like, are you supposed to question what the Pope says at all? Like, are you like, you know what I mean? Like, I always kind of thought you didn't. So am I making that up? Was that commercialized or something?
I mean, when I was growing up Catholic, you weren't even encouraged to read the Bible. It was kind of like whatever the priest explain it to you. So that has certainly changed probably since Pope John the 23rd. So there's been a lot of changes, but yeah, I mean, and like I said, there's a lot of people that go outside what the church says and what the Pope says to do social justice. Like there's a group of nuns on a bus that travel around the country and promote social justice and outside the, blessing sometimes.
Yeah.
Dorothy Day, people that are, very big on social justice that went outside the scope, but raised with Catholic values for whatever that means to whomever.
It's so, yeah, it's there's a level of this obedience to God and then this being your direct vessel, for lack of a better word, your direct, and then to be able to say, I don't agree with him, so therefore it's not important. Or I'm going to just disagree with the Pope. To me, again, the Catholic kids that I do knew growing up, that they were like, that's what the priest said, that's what the father said. That's what I did. It was like non-questioning, which always kind of made me a little nervous. But I was like, that's do you? I was like, all right. But at least I respected that. I mean, again, I'm also growing up watching Italian mob movies, so I'm like, I could, you know what I'm saying? It's the Pope. It's a whole bunch of stuff built in
Also
there for me.
Catholic, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying it's all kind of built in for me where there's this level of obedience and respect. I'm like, okay. So, but then to get to this place where we are now, where when again, like you said, the Pope says something people don't like, and I guess it's why they like. I don't want it to make political, but when there are disagreements on human rights amongst our politicians, that it's not a political discussion. It's still a human rights discussion. Like that if we could get the politicians to agree that human rights is important, maybe we're dealing with corporate America that they couldn't do. Like, but when it's political and it's corporate when it's here and it's athletic when it's over here, but it's a human rights issue regardless, which I think we should probably defer to the people that's supposed to have the ear to God. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, right? Um, okay, so here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to, well, first of all, anyone else wanted to add anything from the Catholic perspective? That was awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I just learned. I mean, I probably might even do a part two just because I need to. This is great learning. I'll ask you this one question: can anyone talk about the emotion shortly about like being a little girl getting the Pope like as these white smoke comes out? What does that emotionally do for people? Because I saw people go from sorrow like literal older people and sorrowful, and then this beam of joy. Like literal, I saw it. It's real. I know it's not made up. So, can anyone speak to that experience briefly?
I think possibly, from my perspective, it's an emotional, like spiritual type of experience to be there to see the white smoke. Oh my goodness, a decision has been made. Because even after we saw the white smoke, it took some time before we saw the curtain move. There's a whole process to it, right? And then it opens, and then here we are. So I think it was magical and spiritual and really powerful to be in the presence in the moment as it's happening.
Gotcha.
We watched it here at school. I'm at Malden Catholic, and all of the TVs, like all of the monitors, was following this, and it was amazing. And we're following. Oh, we see black smoke. Oh my goodness, it's white smoke, and we were all shocked that it came so quickly, and it was just really emotional.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I felt moved, and I was shocked, and it was a first for me.
Wow. So, wow. And that's what I felt. That's kind of what I like watching it because I don't know if I think I happened to be watching, walking by, and when it changed, and I was like, oh, it's about right now. not knowing there was going to be, I kind of was waiting, like, I thought they were gonna come out like right now, like bow, but I didn't know, but I learned a lot. So but yes, it was absolutely a spiritual. I felt the same thing from my perspective as well, that there was something there, which is powerful. Now, which again says to me, why then you have such a backlash? Because when you move in the spirit world forward, there's a reaction in the spirit world. And then when the spirit world manifests and it's demons, and I'm not gonna get too religious on anybody, but if you're talking about a spiritual movement, it's a shift in the earth because of the power that the Catholic Church has had over time. You said it's 500 years, where literally the Catholic Church ruled the world for a little while, if we're being honest. Like if we're being honest, it was the whole thing. They've been the ones that had to become less inclusive and less powerful over time. They've been kind of shrunk down, historically speaking. So there is a shift in the world. There is a shift that people feel, and the reverberations go both ways. So let me show you. So I'm just going to pan through some of these tweets that I grabbed. And I just grabbed stuff off of Twitter, people reacting. I'll just let it sit, and I'll move to the next one. And we're going to talk about them a little bit. If you have one particular one you want me to go back to at some point, I will. But I'm just going to show all of them, man. All right. So this was, came out. This is what he said to the woke Pope. We saw headlines right afterwards. And again, these people speak loudly for this movement. So it's not like, well, this person not. These are the mouthpieces that carry the movement forward. So when they got upset vocally, I was like, that means something, right? And then, you got this where immediately you're taking this to politics. Like this is days after. You're talking about immediately these people that have a plan for America. We could have used this chip on the board, but now we have to use it as an opponent. Like it has nothing to do with the actual religion or the person. It's just a chip of, a piece. And that's why they had to make it clear. Now, the thing was, is deeply rooted in one of the worst things you can do to Trump and MAGA is to personally say something about them. And apparently, he's put some stuff on social media in the past that was very direct, shots fired type stuff, like, man, and calling people out, right? And so Trump doesn't like that at all. Like that's deep rooted stuff that doesn't go away. But it's hard. But how do you attack the Pope? That's the challenge, right? Take a look at this one. Again, I think if you say I'm an enemy of the earth, the person that cares about the earth is your enemy. When you say that, like, I love that people just say what they really feel, right? And so we believe that money is more important than saving the world. So I don't want to hear a pope talking about environmental justice. I just want to keep getting money. I respect the transparency, right? That's just what it is. But that's what makes people come out of the woodwork to say it out loud and up front, right? So the fact that could be a actual pope, I mean, this the idea of being anti-immigration from a church standpoint. If it's not supposed to be political, right? The fact that you might care about the sin of racism, the fact that you might encourage health and well-being because you've seen centuries and thousands of years of bubonic plague take out, like you've learned that the church has learned more than anybody what health needs to look like in this world. But because those things are important to you, it's a hostile boomer takeover. I just want y'all to recognize, and again, it's not everybody, but when people say it out loud, you just have to believe them. So as I push through some of these, that's one. Let's start with that one. And I push through some of these. What are your thoughts on just some of these? And, I'm just kind of. What are your thoughts about the reaction? I tell you, mine is that it's out front, it's open because it's a very personal, emotional thing for people that are having a problem with it. So it triggers them. So people say what they have to say. But what are some of your thoughts about when people say these things, or again, some of the things I just showed? Lynette, what you got?
Okay, so not a Catholic, don't know nothing about no religion, for many, many reasons. That being said, my sister is a MAGA, what I call a reformatory Catholic, I guess, where somebody who goes to church thinks that makes them a good person. So, in the hopes of reaching her, I mentioned how hypocritical it is to be more worried about the economy and how truly no pope or no real religious, no person who was actually Jesus would never do this is basically what I was, kind of said to her. And she's not okay with the new pope. She thinks she knows better. And for that reason, that's my okay, I'm done wasting time on you. Yeah.
Well, you know what we're gonna do before we get off today is you and I are gonna role play asking each other some questions. So I'm gonna help you today because that's what we're gonna do some of that towards the end. So keep that scenario in mind. Thank you for sharing that because we're gonna work on that for sure. Because that's important. People are where they are. It's passionate for people, and we don't want to have a different situation double us down. You might have a person that's just starting to come on board with the racism thing, and now this whole thing sets you back 10 steps because now let's just keep having the conversation go. So, um, all right. So, any other thoughts about what people are saying? What about talk about the reaction? So we see this reaction. Oh, go ahead, Janet.
So I'm actually an ex-Catholic. Being a gay female, never really felt accepted in the Catholic Church at all. But it just amazes me the lack of respect. I mean, people, to your point, Kyle, they just say whatever's on their mind. You don't have to say everything that you think. I mean, who picks on the Pope?
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. It just astonishes me.
And I love that energy right there is what because I'm telling you, I'm already letting it out the bag. We're gonna finish with a CPR protocol practice around people saying stuff about the Pope. So I'm just letting that out early. But the astonishment is how I want us to respond. I don't want you to really ask, I want you to ask people who picks on the Pope. Have you asked anyone that question? I want you to next time they say something, I want you just to ask them. I'm just curious, who picks on the Pope? Explain to me how that works. And just wait for their answer. I promise you they won't say dumb stuff about the Pope around you next time they see you.
Well,
So
I
they're
mean,
not
but that might, I think you have to kind of know who you're asking because that might bring up a whole theological discussion of Protestantism, right? Because Protestants picked on the Pope, and that's
okay.
how, right?
And that's where, and see now this is where we're going. That's why on the flyer it said Catholics versus Christian nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not asking that question as a catch you question. I'm asking that question so people can say the stuff out loud, like you just said, because
Mm-hmm.
white Anglo-Saxon Protestants didn't want Catholics in this country.
Mm-hmm.
When Catholics came to this country, they were treated differently. They were like until they became whiter than being more Catholic, they were treated just like other people that were being minority. So I want people to say that out loud and make the connection. You see what I mean? Like I want to ask that question because it does lead to that answer if somebody's gonna tell the truth, and then I have a follow-up question.
Right.
How do you think that relates to the Protestant movement of today that doesn't like the Pope?
Right.
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 And those are the questions that we're going to go down the line with. And again, let all of our anger about this stuff or whatever be directed back to their lack of logic in their question. Like I just saw somebody here said that somebody was upset that they said that he didn't say it in English. He didn't say this first speech in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Like, live in Rome and remember Peru. But it just showed, but see, this is when ignorance exposes itself, I want you to get so excited that you're about to challenge it with questions that you say, what did you just say? What
Mm-hmm.
made you think it would be in English? Is this your first pope? Like what? Like I mean, these are just questions that I have. Like help me understand the gap because, or maybe I thought it was going to be English too, but then I read about it and I can help you now figure out. Yeah, you know what? I realized. Remember that stuff and back in the Godfather movies. It's real. They don't talk like that. Whatever I got to do to make the connection, but it opens up the lane by just putting the question on the table because most people, most Americans, many American Catholics, even still don't know as much as y'all just shared. Because I've asked a few people that were kind of like they're like what you said, Lynn. I go to church or something. I'm not exactly sure what I remember the white smoke was good. They didn't really get the whole thing. So when we question people, it kind of challenges them. Lynn, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I saw a hand go up and then yeah.
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that the thing that really bothers me about all these comments is basically that everybody's trying to control the narrative. And if
Yeah.
we could all just focus more on what was actually the truth or seeking the real truth, that everybody took the opportunity. I mean, there's, in this country, it's supposed to be separation of church and state. So though every one of those tweets, comments that you pulled up politicizes the church.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we focus not at all on his spiritual value, and what he could do. And he is immediately going in and following up on the things that he said. How he met with JD Vance the other day, I have no idea, but he did. And he, did nothing but offer opportunities, offered, respect, which was not at all deserved. And, so I'm encouraged by seeing, somebody stand behind the words that they put out there as well. And even if that is not something, as you were saying earlier, is that, if you don't agree with it, at least you can do something with it because it is fairly truthful and representative of that person. Now we can talk about the real differences between us, as opposed to made up stuff, which all of that information was.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff in the chat too. I love what I'm seeing. Like keep going in the chat. I know our time kind of runs out at some point, but I'm gonna open a little bit. If there's some more thoughts on this idea, I want to make sure people understand. And that's what's popping in the chat about the opposition to even. I don't have all the history behind it. I don't know, but I know that the Catholic Church was the original church, and then everything else kind of broke off from there. And different things went in different spaces, and different spaces carried different traditions that were in different opposition. And I think at some point, a lot of this is all in opposition to what Christ would have wanted out of all of this stuff in the first place. But that's just me. But
Right.
as you talk about Protestants in America, because if you understand how the MAGA movement is directly descendant, right, of all of everything of the slaveholders, the Confederacy, the segregationists, the Dixiecrats, Reagan, like that's the whole Tea Party. Here we are. This is the evolution of all of that, and now it's in power. It's in a seat of power. And it's open about it to a sense globally, where everyone in the world knows that we have a fascist government being installed, that we have a racist, like everyone in the world knows that this is happening. And so people have started to align themselves in different places because the world's about to shift. And again, I hope this is not stuff I'm like, it's not your first time thinking about it, but globally, you can see the world shifting of new alignments as we cut off our allies, other allies form. That's how these factions get reassigned. America is only about 250 years old. The Catholic Church is 1900 years old. The Catholic Church is way more of an institution than the United States of America. It has existed. It has seen kingdoms fall. It has seen countries fall. It has seen all kinds of things happen. So at the idea that the seat of power in the world, the Catholic Church, is in opposition to the takeover, whatever you want to call it, of American politics right now, and saying it out loud, that is a world stage that we'll see how it plays out over the next few years. But if you're serious about the things you preach in terms of holding the globe together from that office of the Pope, this is one of the number one issues in your whole papacy. Am I saying the right word? Your whole time in the run, Leo, is getting this American thing fixed, because this will shake up the whole rest of the world for the next 100, 200, 300 years. That's how things happen. We are seeing that moment in time. And I think, and I believe that on some level, the church, at least this Pope, sees that. That's why he's so outspoken. That's why he's not tiptoeing right now. Because he's already 100 days behind. If we're being real about it, right? So I say all that to say is, what can we do? And I know we could keep this conversation going, and I want to, but I really want to focus on I want to have some conversations. I want to role play some things. And I need you guys. I'm just going to do the practicing by asking questions. And what I need you to do is think about the arguments you've been having, the discussions you've been having, the convincing you've been trying to do. And I want you to be them. And I just need to go. I'm just want to see if I can go maybe 2 minutes with 7 people to get through the whole thing, and just keep asking out questions to see if I can get you to open up some creativity when it comes to some of this stuff, and we can debrief some of that. Do I have some? I know I have at least one with Lynn. If Lynn wants to start us off, and then we can catch up. But I want to ask questions, because I don't know a lot about this stuff. So for me, it's true curiosity. And I think if everybody can get to true curiosity around people saying ignorant stuff, it helps you see the holes in the logic and the holes in the empathy, and you're like, wow, that's astonishing that you don't understand this part.
Mm.
Here's a
Right.
question to make you think about it. So, Lynn, can you be your sister for me for a second and just say what she would say? And then let me ask you some questions, and then we'll get some more volunteers as we go.
Well, I think that the new Pope and his woke attitude is just the wrong choice. I can't even believe what they were possibly thinking, you know.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by woke? What does that mean?
Well, somebody who believes that the liberals are right.
When you say liberal, what is that? What do the liberals want? What are they trying to be right about?
Oh, the people that are trying to let everybody have all these different names and pronouns and everything, and just rejecting the Bible's view of the world.
I'm sorry. The Bible mentioned pronoun. What did the Bible say about pronouns? Don't they like capitalize he and all the time? I see that. I was like, what does the Bible say about pronouns? That bothers you?
They don't say anything about any other pronouns. There's only men and women.
Okay. All right. So there's no they in the Bible. They don't use the word they in the Bible.
They do, but when they're talking about men and women.
When it's a group of mixed people, what do they call those people? When it's like a
Call
men and
them
women in a
they.
group. Oh,
That is they.
got you. So that the word is in there. All right. I was just curious. Go on with the rest. What were you saying about? Go ahead. You said they were woke, and I understand. Let me ask you this: in your mind, does woke mean that you care about people and care about things? Would that be like people who care about black people? Are they woke to you?
Of course.
So let me ask you this: why don't you care about black people?
I do care about black
So
people,
you're
but
woke
all
then.
lives
Does that
matter.
mean you're woke if you care about black people, right?
I care about everybody the same. I don't
Okay,
see
right. So you
color.
care about black people. So you're woke to caring about. What about? Do you care about like the litter and the trash and the pollution in your streets and neighborhoods looking clean and then like the environment? Do you care about that?
Sure.
Or so that does that make you woke too? That you care about the climate and the culture and stuff? And does that make you woke?
Oh, you mean the climate, the whole climate hoax? Of course, that's just a hoax. That's just
All
a.
right, let me pause for just 1 second, real quick.
Mhm.
So just to show you what I'm doing, are we even talking about the Pope anymore?
Mm.
Mm.
See, what I want when your curiosity leads, everything they say is a new question. I don't want to hear you talk about the Pope again. And I'm letting you know that you can't talk about the Pope because if I want to really hear about some real stuff about the Pope, but since I know you're going to go on this rant, like Lynn has already cut you, instead of cutting her off, I want you to just let her talk, and just ask questions and make her think about stuff. Talk to your
Mm.
sister, love your sister. Just be curious about what's, you know what I mean? And I'm saying that because, and the reason I did that exactly, because you can control this to whatever level you want. I could have gotten into a conversation about the Pope with you, but for
Mm.
you, not even being a Catholic, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to cut into the craziness. So I'm just gonna
Mm.
ask you the question. I'm gonna kind of interrupt you, but my questions are these aren't bad questions. I'm not a mean person for asking these questions. I just want to know more about what you're saying,
Mhm.
This
right?
is helpful because, like, sometimes all I want to do is point out the hypocrisy. I don't know about the background of the religion, only that they tend to weaponize it, and
Hmm.
they pick and choose and we call it cherry picking in data science, and
Hmm.
they pick and choose things that fit, but yet literally you just asked me about littering and things, and then you pointed out how that was climate change, and then I was like immediately went to, but the reality is that we do have a lot of the same concerns. It's just that they choose to ignore things. So there is definitely an ignorance there.
And
And
that's why,
so,
yeah. And that's where your question points them right back to what they missed. See, your
yeah,
question, here's the hole in your story. This part
yeah.
right here. My question is gonna force you to look at that part and answer that part.
Mhm.
Right?
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
trying to move you off. You're all around here. Hold on. What about that part you said right there about being woke? Help me understand why you're not woke. Why don't you care about people? Why don't you care? Like, I just want to know why are you choosing to be asleep? Like, those are the questions. And those are real questions because before we even get into why
Mhm.
she's even mad about stuff, I just want to know what is even we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to do this again. Our time is going to keep moving. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Can I get somebody to talk? I want to talk a little bit more about the Pope, the Catholic stuff. While we got anyone want to jump in, please just make a comment that people are making that you want to see how you could question. Come off mute and do that. Renee, I see you shaking your head. If you want to jump in, you can jump in. I see you today. I'm with you. I feel it.
Um, I I'm always just struck by how the most vocal people in Christianity right now are always doing the exact opposite of what Jesus told you to do and did. And so
So
is it worth getting into
say something that they would say.
is it worth getting into those kinds of
Yeah,
discussions?
absolutely.
Like,
Let's try it. Go ahead and just say one of the
okay,
things that they would
okay.
say that's totally across.
Well,
Yeah.
the new pope says that he's for migrants, but we have to have borders. We just can't keep letting all these rapists and murderers into the country. You don't even have a country if you don't
I
have
got you.
borders.
I'm
Like,
just
we just don't
curious.
even have a country if we don't have
Are
borders.
you okay? Calm down. Just curious. What percentage, well, first of all, how many immigrants do you know that are coming in the country right now? Like, how many are getting in the country?
There have to be at least 30 million. That's what
Okay.
Trump said.
So, of the 30 million immigrants, how many of them, what percentage do you think are rapists and murderers?
Oh my God, all of them.
So, I'm just clear. Let me just make sure. So, you're saying that over the last couple of years, 30 million rapists and murderers have gotten into the country. They've been raping and murdering people for the last couple of years, and nobody's been caught or gone to jail, and they're still here. Is that what you're saying?
Some of them get caught, some of them are in jail, and President Trump has thankfully deported some of them too.
But hold on, you said 30 million rapists and murderers are in how many non-immigrant rapists and murderers do you think are in the rest of the country out of the 330 million of those people? What percentage of those people do you think?
I don't know. Maybe there's 30 million more.
Okay. So you think there were, okay, I'm just curious. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. So you don't want the immigrants in, are you not a single immigrant? I'm just curious. You don't think not a single immigrant. What about like the Italian immigrants? And the Norwegian immigrants that we have, the Swedish immigrants. What about those South Africans that just brought over here? Those are immigrants. What do you think about those guys?
Well, I'm sure some of them aren't rapists and murderers.
Wait, why are you sure though? Why are you sure those ones aren't rapists and murderers? What about them is different?
Because they don't come from shithole countries.
You ever heard you know the history of South Africa?
Okay,
It's
well
a
maybe
little bit of yeah.
if they're from Africa, they
There's some
maybe
shit
are a
here.
shithole country.
Okay, so why do you give them a break? I'm just curious. What?
The South Africans?
Yeah, what's different about them than the other one, the other people?
Maybe they have more money. The people that are coming here from Mexico and Central America and South America
okay, go
are
ahead.
the
So the
poorest
Pope
of the
cares about
poor.
immigrants. Let me just so I know Jesus talked about immigrants, right? Like, are you a Christian or are you a Catholic? I'm sorry.
I'm a Christian.
You're a Christian. Jesus talked about immigrants. What did Jesus say about the immigrants?
He said that we should love our neighbors, but those people shouldn't be my neighbors
What did
because
he
they
say
don't
specifically
belong
about?
here.
That's the only thing he said specifically about immigrants. If I sent you some quotes about Jesus saying about immigrants, would you be open to reading those? I have like a whole list of them. Would you be open to
Sure,
reading some of those quotes? All right, I'll send you some of those.
but I've read the Bible.
All right, if you found out that Jesus said to love the immigrants, to feed them, to shelter, if you learned that would it change your mind because Jesus said it?
But so I do that. Jesus didn't say that I have to give my taxpayer
No, hold on, wait,
money
time out,
to
time
care
out.
and
I'm
for those
sorry, I'm
people.
sorry, I didn't mean to
I
cut you
do
off.
that in my personal
I
life. I'm
know,
a
I got
very
you,
good
I
person.
got you. So I got you. So I know it didn't, Jesus didn't say anything about it. He said some other stuff about taxes, but I'm just curious. If Jesus said that it was our duty to welcome immigrants into our nation, to be open armed with them and feed them and help them and shelter, would that change your mind if Jesus himself said it to you that we should do this regardless of your taxes and your personal stuff? If Jesus said that to you, would you change your mind?
But I already do that. Like, that's
Would you
what
change your
I
mind for the
do.
country? If Jesus told the country to do that, would you say, okay, country, that's what we're supposed to do? If Jesus,
Okay. Yes, if Jesus said that, but that's
okay.
different from what he said.
Okay, so this is great. I was curious. And I'm going to send you some of these, and I would love to talk to you about them again. If you take a look at some of these scriptures where Jesus is talking about that, I would love to. No, let's give a refresher, and then I'll talk to you about that again. Is that cool? Does that work?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right. Again, my goalpost for this was to interrupt her whole rant about immigrants and the Pope to get to the core. So for me, again, I didn't even get to the Pope again, but it was more so about because again, it's the human rights issue for me. I guess is where I keep getting stuck. But the issue of immigration was why she was mad at the Pope. So let's talk about immigration, right?
Well, and the irony is that Jesus was a refugee. Jesus and his family literally went to Egypt to escape the tyranny and then came back when King Herod died. And
Yeah.
they're like, no, they can't do that here in America.
But
Why
instead of
not?
saying, but and that's why instead of saying that to them, that's why you ask them, hey, if Jesus said it to you, would you be okay to that? And I'm gonna just give you the quote because you don't need to take it from me because I learned it from over here. That's where you can share your information and make it powerful. Instead of giving them, well, don't you know that in Hebrews, da, 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 they're like, I read it differently. But I'm gonna let you look at it and then let's talk about it because I'm gonna respect
Mm,
your opinion about it. Maybe there is some gray area that I didn't know about, and it'll help me with the next argument I have with somebody. Right? So
that's
that's the
great.
approach that we take. Everything is a lesson, every approach, just with curiosity. All
Mm.
right. I got time for one more at 12. I still have a few minutes after, but just to honor the 2 o'clock. Does anyone else have one? I'm gonna promise I'm gonna be patient and get to the Catholicism part. I promise you, because I'm sure that's what someone does anyone have a comment that you've been trying to figure out how do we put a stop to this? And thank y'all for letting me practice today.
No, this is really helpful, Kyle. Thank you.
Anytime, anytime. April, you have any? What are they saying down in Texas? Just make one of the comments you're hearing about this Pope that you're dealing with behind enemy lines. Just say it. Whatever. Don't no context needed. Let's just role play. You just get
I
into
haven't
character.
I haven't heard anything said about the Pope because that I haven't heard anything said about the Pope.
Okay. All right. Well, you been going outside? No, that's good. All right. All right. Does anybody have one for me? It can be about anything. I just want to do one more practice. I would like it to be if anyone has something about. Or how about if I show any of these? Anybody want to take the position of one of these people on these slides? Let me go back to those real quick. Anyone want to at least try to make the argument? Let me see. We're not even gonna go with the work Marxist poll. Let me see. Uh, What about this America first? Can anyone make the America first argument that Leo, being anti-MAGA is not America first? Anyone want to grab that character?
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. So like I was really excited when I saw that an American was the new pope, and I just thought, oh, praise God, this is gonna be so great. He's gonna, you know, back us, and he's gonna, fly the American flag. And I'm just so disappointed. He's not doing that at all. He's just totally denying his Americanness, and he's betraying the American people by taking these woke views. And and my
Oh,
bishop says the
I'm
same
sorry,
thing.
Ellen.
He said, yeah,
Oh, hey, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I just I was wondering where you're going because I was like when you said American, I was wondering like which American because it's like 330 million Americans. So I was just wondering when but you're saying he sided with the woke Americans instead of the non-woke Americans. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
because the woke Americans are not real Americans.
got
They
you.
don't love their country. They just love all these other people that are coming in. They love these other people that don't know if they're men or women. They're not really American.
Got you. So what's your definition of an American?
Somebody that loves their country,
Okay.
that loves the United States of America,
Uh-huh.
somebody that knows that God is smiling upon the United States of America,
Okay.
and who will defend this country against all of those other people coming in.
Got you. Okay. So now what's your definition of a pope?
A pope should be the leader of the Catholic Church. He's the leader of.
So he has to love all the countries, not just America. He has to love all the countries.
He does,
Okay, okay. All right.
but he's still from this country, and
So do
so
you
he
think,
needs
I'm
to.
just curious, do you think wherever the Pope is from, he should give special attention to that country? Like, so when the Pope was from Peru, or if the Pope was from Ghana, or if the Pope was from Italy, they should give special attention to that particular country?
In a way, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
Italy is
that's
easy
good to
because he
know.
lives
Okay.
there.
What else did you think about? So you said God smiling on America makes you American. Where does the Pope, the God of the Pope smile upon? Does he smile upon just certain Americans or certain people or everybody?
Well, he smiles on everybody,
Okay, all right, I was curious.
but
And
but
then, which do you think the Pope has to just defend Americans, or do you think the Pope has to defend everybody?
well, he defends everybody, but he should defend Americans first because he is American.
Because he is American. I'm just curious. Do you know where he's from in America?
Um, Chicago.
But
Which, okay,
right, most of y'all
Chicago.
don't even think that's not even America, right? Y'all call that Chirac and stuff. So maybe he's
Well,
not really
yeah,
from America. That's
yeah.
crazy, right? Just all right. So
But
you
he does.
so
He does
because the
have a
Pope so because the Pope is like all lives matter, like everybody's life, all countries matter, all gods matter. Like because the Pope is a God loves everybody Pope, you don't really want to mess with him because you want an American first Pope. Okay.
well, because he is American.
Okay.
And he
Gotcha.
should just show it. Not that he doesn't care about those other countries, that he should do more to speak up for America.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Gotcha. And so the way he would speak up for America would be to speak up for just the unwoke Americans, because he's speaking up for the woke Americans, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
He
Do you
just,
think there's
he
more
just,
woke Americans or unwoke? I'm just curious. Who do you think there's more of them?
well, he should speak up for all Americans, but the woke Americans there, I just questioned for patriotic Americans. That's who he should speak up for.
That's a whole nother discussion. Okay,
Yeah, it
I got
is.
a question. I'm just curious because I love your definition of Americans. If I sent you something that just taught some history about America, that talked about all different types of Americans, would you be open to watching it and then we could talk more about it? Because I love to get your perspective on this. Could I send that to you?
You can send it to me.
Often. And again, take a look at it. Let me know. We'll talk about it. This is a great conversation, Ellen. I
All
learned
right.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm exhausted.
She did all the work. I'm glad you said it because she was working, and I'm glad you said it. My reaction was gonna be, I was working because I'm gonna when people want to talk and explain their stuff, put them to work. Okay, next question. There you go. Lay up. Here's another one. Lay up. Here's another one. And then when they're exhausted, hey, would you like me to send you something? We can talk about this later. Like, yeah, let me off the hook. I want you to get really good at being curious about people's ignorance. Don't judge it. Don't choose to change it. Don't decide you got to manipulate them to think something differently. I want you to let them be ignorant in all their splendor and glory and just be astonished and amazed and have questions for them
Yeah.
and let their questions wear them out. I want you to ask people questions that hit them in spots they're not ready to address, that speak to different parts of their emotions or their empathy or their information that they are not ready to handle. And I promise you, one of two things will happen. Someone will begin to engage in genuine conversations because some people do like to be challenged and just need some things to stimulate them. And maybe you might make them and get them to take their sign down if they really are thinking that they're right because they think they're right, not because they're evil people. But other people are going to see you coming with those questions and they're going to choose to take their bullshit somewhere else and not dare to open their mouths in front of you because you know you're going to have these questions that are about to chop their heads off with full fun and curiosity, but it's going to put them under the pressure to exhaust their ignorance because we cannot stay in the same space, your ignorance and me. This is a
Mhm.
no ignorance zone that I've created. And every person on this call can do that in your cubicle, in your church, in your family, in your car. That you just decide, you know what? I'm not going to be threatened by your ignorance. I'm not going to be angered by your ignorance. I'm going to be astonished by the fact that you think you could share your ignorance with me and I'm supposed to just sit here and agree with you. Well, got news for you, buddy. I got these questions. And I'm
Mhm.
just gonna keep asking you until it exhausts you, until you feed. And again, and I never ask a wrong question or a bad question because I'm just asking you to clarify. I didn't even ask them about questions about how does it make people feel. Because
Mhm.
see, the easiest thing is once I set them all up like that to say, how do you think it makes people feel when you think that the Pope should only speak to some people for what they, how do you think it makes the rest of those people feel when you as a person of God say that their feelings shouldn't matter? How do you think it makes people, these immigrants feel? Well, I didn't even get to that part because that's the chokehold question. Because now you just got a choice. Now that I've exposed your ignorance with a couple of deep thinking questions, now you just got to make a choice. And if you choose to say, I don't care how people feel, I want you to say, thank you for your transparency. I appreciate you being honest about that. Who else is on the list? So the next time you post something on Facebook, I already know where this is going. So if it's black people, Jewish people, who else is on the list that you're on this rant today? Let's just make it clean. Say it with your chest. See, one thing about me and this whole MAGA movement, for me, it's just giving me better targets. I know that may sound crazy. People getting a little nervous, but as a black man in America, growing up in the 80s and 90s when everyone thought everything was cool, but I saw things happen, I watched things happen, and I saw people less believe less and less about what was actually happening. I said, this is actually bad. This is bad news. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, there's some crazy stuff that's been going around about black girls getting abducted for the last 20, 30 years. If it ever was to come out the truth about what's really been happening to little black girls in this country, that nobody seems to talk about too much. These girls going missing, like that's not a accidental continual cycle over that much time unless there's some, for me, I just don't understand how that happens. But I, conspiracy theories aside, I like that they're wearing the hats now. I like they're saying it out loud. I'm trying to get them to put their real faces on Twitter. That's what I challenge all of them. When I'm on Twitter, like it's me right here. It's me on that's my name. It's everything right there. Put yours up and let's talk. Don't be a troll behind the scenes. Because I want to know who they are. So if they stand next to me at a basketball game, I know instead of being like, I didn't know who the guy was. See, as a black man, I'm trying to stay safe in America right now. As a Washington, D.C. resident, it's on edge right now in this country. As a person who challenges ignorance online and gets threats of the new civil war, and you better strap up. And yes, D.C. is a gun-carrying state, so come on to Southeast if you want to. But the idea that people are in a space right now where this is a real-time takeover of what we believe America is supposed to be about. And the people that believe America is supposed to just be for some, and that grip has been lessening and lessening and loosening up, and are trying to get full control of this again, it is a all points bulletin for me. And I love that y'all show up. I love that y'all are here. I love that y'all want to do the work. But it's time to turn up, y'all. It's real. It is real out here, and I don't want us to look back and be like, if only we would have had 25,000 more. Like we're turning up, and they're trying to turn us down. But I refuse. That's why I'm doing 3 along talks, 3 along talk for alls every month, the free ones. So get your friends up, like get your people together. We need to get more people in more positions of power. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, the people that we've been working with that have targets on their back now, the Yales and some of these other people, they're getting pressured. And as that starts to diminish, I need to find other avenues to jump onto so that we can go to places that we haven't been yet. So please, I'm serious about the activation time, about you individually being able to just protect yourself and your space, and then helping us move this thing forward so that there are more conversations like this. Because imagine if this group of 20 was happening 50 times over, just having conversations and talking through this stuff so we can get better at it and get on the other side. So I'm getting hyped today. You're right. Penn seems to be slowing down. There's a lot. The people, and I'm not mad at some of these schools real quick about like the Penns, the Yales. They do have a big target, and they have put themselves in a position where they have to make some choices. And I'm low hanging fruit because I'm going to say the thing that's going to get them fined. So they know what I'm walking in the door. So at least be honest with me, because what you're not going to do is tell me to say it differently. Right. So it's easy for us to say, hey, you're right. We got you to this place. I'll support you and fight from the background, but I understand if I got to take a step back so that you can take 2 steps forward, I'll take that hit. Let me just go find how we can get into the spirits industry, or how we can work over here with these hospitals, or what I can do with these K through 12 schools, because that's where we are right now for us as a movement as well. So I could go on and on. Thank you guys so much for showing up. It'll be recorded if you want to be a part of it, but please bring more faces like yourselves. Tell your friends, tell your family, anyone that's even curious about what we can actually do to change this thing. We got to get on board and start doing it. So thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next time.
Kyle, can I say something quick?
Sure, please.
I just want to say 2 things, really. One is that whenever I send a welcome email message out, I always include a link to your website so people will take the conversation or the class. But also, I was at a workshop, a civil rights summit last week, and there was a preacher who did a segment on power. It was really about the power of love, but he did these comparisons about, Pontius Pilate had the position, but Jesus had the power. Bull Connor had the position, but Martin Luther King had the power. The bus driver had the position, but Rosa Parks had the power. So it was just kind of an encouragement that we all have the power, and we just need to, put it into practice. So
Absolutely.
I love you. I'm so grateful for these segments. And like I said, I'm sending everybody I can your way. So I think it's great.
Appreciate it. We
I'm
appreciate
grateful to
it.
be a part of this.
Absolutely appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
everybody. All right. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.